Hello, I'm Dr. Nathan Gellert. In this video about motivational interviewing, I'll be talking about the importance of exploring client motivation as it relates to their goals and values. I'll also discuss strategies for doing this. If there was a Bible of motivational interviewing, it might begin with the simple statement that everyone is motivated. Indeed, this is one of the greatest truths, because motivation is the force that animates life and drives us towards our goals. We can also think of goals in terms of needs. When you think about human needs, you might naturally think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The American psychologist Abraham Maslow first proposed this concept in a 1943 paper entitled A Theory of Human Motivation. In the hierarchy of needs, Maslow presents a taxonomy of human needs, ordered from those which are fundamental to life itself to those that are necessary for each person to achieve their full human potential, what he called self-actualization. Motivational interviewing is a strengths-based approach, and it's worth noting that Maslow can be thought of as one of the pioneers of the field of positive psychology. Rather than studying the treatment-seeking population, or those confined to mental hospitals, Maslow studied people such as Albert Einstein, Jane Addams, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Frederick Douglass. It's important to consider exactly what we mean when we speak of goals and values and how they relate to the needs that Maslow addressed. Goals, values, and needs relate to and influence each other. Goals are things that we want to get. For instance, a promotion, financial independence, or living a healthy life. Values are things we prize. They are more general than specific goals. For instance, family, wealth, independence, joy, or health. Needs are things we require, such as having food on the table or a roof over our heads. As we engage with our clients and begin to develop our understanding of the presenting concerns, it's important to remember that lower-order needs, which are easy to overlook, may need to be addressed before higher-order goals and values. For instance, a student experiencing a crisis in their home life, say an opioid-addicted parent, may not be able to perform well academically until the crisis has resolved at home. Again, no one is unmotivated, so there are many good reasons to explore goals and values with your clients. Exploring a client's goals and values is a great way to foster engagement, while simultaneously deepening our understanding of what motivates them. Goals and values also provide a roadmap for the process of evoking. It's important to understand where a client wants to journey so that we can work with them to evoke their motivation for change. I'll be discussing this in greater depth in a later lecture on the evoking process. One important reminder. Goals and values touch on some of the most personal and intimate aspects of what it means to be human. A client's goals and values may differ greatly from our own. For instance, an oil executive who values family and passing on wealth to his children may seek help from a counselor who greatly values nature and preserving natural resources. Another client might decide to give birth to a child out of wedlock and set aside a budding career, where the counselor may have made a different choice. One of the fundamental tasks is to remain neutral when we find ourselves having different values from our clients. We must respect the client's autonomy and offer to them a non-judgmental space to become the person they choose to become. There are two main approaches to exploring clients' values: the open-ended interview and the structured values exploration. I'll be talking next about each of these. In the open-ended values interview, you simply ask open-ended questions about the client's values. Make sure, too, that you're using your reflecting skills to deepen that conversation. You can ask, for instance, what makes you most happy? Or, where would you like for your life to be in 2 years? I would encourage you to be creative in engaging with your clients about values. You might ask the miracle question, which is, suppose tonight while you slept a miracle occurred. When you wake up tomorrow, what would be some of the things that you would notice that would tell you your life had suddenly gotten better? You could also ask them what animal they're most like, or would most like to be like. You could also ask the client their favorite quote or favorite person from history. Your clients will appreciate this level of interest in them, and all the while you're learning what may motivate your client to change. As the name implies, the second technique for exploring values is more structured. In the structured values exploration, value sort cards are used to guide a client through a systematic exploration of their values. A link to the value sort cards is included in the description of this video. The value sort cards consist of 83 popular values such as acceptance, commitment, fitness, God's will, humor, leisure, risk, sexuality, and stability. At the bottom of the final page, there are 3 cards labeled Other Value. These are for the client to use in case they have values that are not contained in the list. Returning to the first page of the cards, you'll find cards labeled Important to me, Very important to me, and Not important to me. Let's talk about the instructions for this exercise, and it's one that's usually best to have the client complete at home in between sessions. First, have the client cut out all the cards, and make sure that they know they should set aside time at home when they cannot be interrupted and work alone. The client should begin the exercise by placing the Important to me, Very important to me, and Not important to me cards in front of them. Working on a table works well. The client will then look at every card individually, considering how each one may or may not be a value that fits for them, and place it into the pile labeled either Important to me, Very important to me, or Not important to me. Next, have the client pick up the Very important to me pile and ask them to sort through the cards in that pile in order from most to least important, so that when they're done, the cards are ordered from most to least important. At this point, the client is done with the activity at home. Ask them to bring the sorted pile of Very important to me cards with them to the next session. In that session, ask the client to lay out the top 10 Very important to me cards on a table where you can both see them. Then, one by one, ask them to share their top values. This exploration can take an entire session. Let's talk more about why we want to spend so much time getting to know our clients' goals and values. As you talk with a client about their values, you'll quickly begin to see how some of their values don't line up with how they are currently living their life. For instance, the client who smokes might value family and want to live to experience their grandchildren. The client who values simplicity may be overwhelmed by all the junk they've accumulated over the years. The student-athlete who values wealth and wants to have a successful career may not have enough time for their studies because of over-involvement in extracurriculars. These situations relate to the idea of integrity, which simply means behaving and living in a way that's consistent with one's core values. Many people who seek help find themselves in this very position. Fortunately, this position can be highly motivating, especially with the help of a trained professional such as yourself. The social psychologist Leon Festinger discussed this very principle in his seminal 1959 work on the cognitive dissonance theory. According to this theory, being psychologically uncomfortable motivates people to try to reduce the dissonance they're experiencing. In motivational interviewing, we refer to this uncomfortable feeling, this dissonance, as discrepancy. Because discrepancy is a source of motivation, With our clients, we focus on exploring the discrepancy between the status quo, or current behaviors, and the client's goals and values. It can be tempting to respond to our clients with a righting reflex, where we want to quickly make things right by confronting clients with their discrepancy. This will, however, be ineffective, as the client is likely to respond by defending the status quo, which is a significant roadblock to change. Our goal, instead, is to help clients engage in self-confrontation, where the client develops their own sense of the discrepancy between the status quo and their goals and values. This exploration must be done gently. If you sense the client getting defensive, then that's your signal to back off a bit. We're all human, and change takes time. Thanks for joining me for this video. In the next video, I'll be talking about the next process in motivational interviewing, focusing. Focusing is the process of identifying treatment goals with the client. Please click the subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are published.